Hello, 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 hello. This is Attorney Don Dennis, just making sure everything is coming through good. Hello, hello, hello. This is Attorney Don Dennis. Everything looks to be in order. Welcome. I want to welcome you this evening to the broadcast. I am Attorney Don Dennis here in Los Angeles, California. And tonight, the goal is to give you my perspective on what we know so far concerning what happened to Mike Tyson. And everything I say is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I am a practicing attorney with over 10 years of experience. And prior to becoming an attorney, I worked as an engineer. So I have over 10 years of engineering experience as well. So I'm going to give you a well rounded view of the matter. And the goal is to explain things from a legal perspective as well, so that whether you wear a white collar, a blue collar, or no collar to work each day, in whatever profession that you're engaged in, everything is explained in plain English. You know, it's interesting that when you go to the airport, you have to go through security. And before you get to security, they tell you what you can and cannot bring on the plane. You can't bring aerosols. You can't bring a whole host of things. However, what they seems like they need to start telling people is that they need to bring some common sense when they get on these planes. They need to bring some self-respect and learn how to control themselves. I guess self-control is what we're saying when you get on the plane, because obviously it's not. And as I've read many of the stories at many of the online news agencies, none of them are talking or spending that much time discussing that problem with the story. You know, from what I've read, you would just think that out of the blue, a belligerent, crazy Mike Tyson just attacked someone for little to no reason. But we're going to talk a little bit about that and why that, maybe doesn't make as much sense as they want it to make, if you look and think about it a little bit deeper. Years ago, when I was a teenager, I was riding the red line in Chicago. And I'll never forget, it was the summer. It was over 100 degrees on a Saturday, hot, humid, almost just exhausting. And I had been working all night, helping a friend move, driving U-Haul trucks, just dropped the truck off. Now I'm rushing back, riding the train, trying to relax, completely worn out. And I found a seat on the train. I was kind of near the conductor, and I'm just sitting there with my friend, and I see a man on the train kind of appearing to be intoxicated, and he just starts cursing out the conductor. And he's cursing out the conductor as we pass up Harrison, as we pass up Jackson, as we pass up Monroe, just nonstop cursing out the conductor. And then he's kind of walking around a little bit, stumbling and continuing to just curse out the conductor. And the conductor's trying to maintain his composure, real calm, cool, and collective in his little area, trying his best to ignore the man cursing him out. But, nevertheless, all the passengers around could see what's going on. So as you can imagine, it's just a miserable ride. Everyone is exhausted. Everyone is burning up, it's hot, dealing with the humidity, and having to listen to a loudmouth curse and just act like they have no sense for this entire ride. So the man kept cursing out the conductor. I happened to be sitting not too far, I think a seat or two from the conductor. So obviously the guy's kind of looking towards my direction, but more so focused in on the conductor. And as I'm just looking around on the ride, I pull up to a few stops and we're sitting there. And the guy kind of looks towards me and is cursing. And so, I'm young. I'm wondering what's going on. And so I look at him and I ask him point blank, "Are you speaking to me? Are you talking to me?" And then he said, "Yeah, I'm talking to you too." And he cursed at me as well. Now, at this point, I'm hot. I'm sweating, that kind of humidity sweat where not even doing anything. You're just drenched. If you're familiar with Chicago, if you're familiar with being out there in July and August, you know exactly what I'm talking about with that humidity. So I'm just drenched and I'm sitting here. So my friend is like, hey, just relax, relax. And I'm trying to stay relaxed. But again, I'm going through all these stops and the guy's cursing out me and the conductor. So I told the guy, look, why don't you relax, be cool, just leave everyone alone. And he refused to listen. So when I finally got to my stop, I had to unfortunately walk past the guy. And as I walked past him, he was smirking and giving me these looks. And then he lunged toward me. Now, at that point, I had no choice but to defend myself. But the question is, how much should a reasonable person be expected to deal with before they react? How much abuse? How much someone threatening you? How much someone getting in your personal space are you expected to endure before you can't take it anymore? And it seems very odd that once a person can't take it anymore in this day and age, when we're talking about Mike Tyson, he's deemed to be, a violent person. He's not deemed to be someone that's reasonable, that allowed someone to do what they did without reacting. But nevertheless, let's talk about an example of Mike Tyson's patience. Just about a month ago here in Los Angeles, and I'm broadcasting from Los Angeles, California, Mike Tyson was at a bar and he was hanging out at a comedy club and apparently up in Hollywood, and apparently a man challenged him to a fight. Now, Mike, being a cool, calm, collective guy, allowed the guy to talk. The MC on the stage reportedly asked the man to calm down, just to relax. But did the man do so? No. He continued to act up, continued to cause a scene. And then at that point, he reached inside of his clothes and pulled out a gun. Mass pandemonium broke out in the club, and people started scurrying all about. People were going under tables, ducking for cover. And what did Mike Tyson do? He just sat at his table and watched the guy. Didn't overreact, didn't go ballistic, didn't duck and hide, but just watched the guy. And then on top of that, he engaged in a conversation with the man to disarm him and calm and de-intensify the situation. He de-escalated everything that was going on. And lo and behold, what the news states is that the man ended up over the course of speaking with Mike Tyson, walking towards him, shaking his hand, and Mike gave him a hug. I don't know what is expected of an individual if you can be attacked, challenged to a fight, have a gun pulled out on you, everyone else is panicking, you de-escalate the situation, have a conversation, give the man a hug, and then move on. How much is an individual expected to take? So again, but you don't hear too much talk about that in context with what just happened. So let's talk about what just happened. Apparently, on Wednesday evening, Mike Tyson was on a flight in the evening, leaving from San Francisco on JetBlue. And he met a guy that was a passenger, and the man walked up to him, asked him to take a selfie with him. Mike obliged, took the selfie. And then what happened? Well, the guy wanted to keep talking. The guy wanted to keep annoying Mike Tyson. The guy didn't want Mike Tyson to be able to enjoy his flight. And again, it's late at night. Mike asked him to please leave me alone. Please stop talking to me. I want to relax. I want to be left alone. What's wrong with that late at night? Who wants to be bothered and engaged in long, nonstop conversations late at night with someone you don't even know? But nevertheless, the man wouldn't oblige to Mike's requests. And not only that, as you can see from videos on all different sources and outlets all over the internet, the guy starts standing up over Mike Tyson. So think about this. You're sitting in your chair on a flight. The chairs are designed to allow a passenger to look in one direction, forward. and you have someone behind you hollering, talking loud, bothering you nonstop, no one has eyes in the back of their head. You have no idea what this person might try to do to you at any time. In addition, besides the man standing over Mike Tyson, he threw a water bottle at him and hit him with the water bottle. So you have someone standing over you. It's late at night. You can't rest. They have no idea what you went through that day. If it's been a long day of work, you're ready to relax. And then they're throwing a water bottle and cursing you out. What is expected of people in terms of how much tolerance, how much patience they are expected to have? Now, in all the videos that are surfacing, and all the videos that I saw, I did not see any stewardess or other officials, the pilot, co-pilot, or representatives from JetBlue intervene. And there is multiple videos that shows that this whole situation was going on for quite a while. If any one of you have been on a flight, you know that typically stewardess walk up and down the aisle periodically through the flight to have an idea of what's going on. So I guess from the footage that's available thus far, what we're to believe is that no representatives from JetBlue saw anything of what was going on. No one notified them, and therefore they had no idea and couldn't have intervened and taken any action. Now, in this day and age, how likely is that? In addition, besides having to deal with all of that, I have some other questions. Were there any air marshals on that flight? Were there any law enforcement officials, police officers, FBI agents, any security, any type of officers on that flight that work for any form of government agency that could have intervened? And if so, why didn't they intervene? Why didn't they do anything? What is that about? I think we need to know. Now, let's talk about what legal claims, because this channel is designed to talk about how different transactions and interactions amongst people and businesses in the world can result in legal issues that can end up with someone cutting someone else a check, someone having to pay someone else for their failure to do what they were supposed to do. So that's the question. Did anyone owe Mike Tyson based on what happened here? Now, obviously, the argument could be made, was Mike Tyson assaulted? In California, there is a jury instruction, if you go to court, concerning proving whether or not someone was assaulted. And it's very simple questions that a jury has to read. A jury of reasonable people, a jury of our peers, not a jury of attorneys, but of regular, everyday people. One of the first questions is, did someone act or attempt to act to make contact with someone? Well, if you throw a water bottle and you hit someone, or you try to hit somebody, I think that means the answer to that question is yes. Second, did the person, meaning Mike Tyson, reasonably believe that he was about to be touched? Well, as you see the bottle coming towards you and you know you're about to be hit with it, was there a threat? No, it wasn't a threat, because this actually happened. And it was unreasonable. And obviously, Mike Tyson didn't consent to being hit with a water bottle or to being berated for any duration of time on a flight. But we don't hear any talk about that. So in my opinion, Mike Tyson likely was assaulted during this flight. Now, let's talk about, is JetBlue liable to Mike Tyson? In other words, does JetBlue owe Mike Tyson money for allowing this entire situation to occur? Well, you might say, well, why would JetBlue owe him money? They didn't touch him. They didn't hit him. They didn't stand over him from behind. Well, my question is, was JetBlue negligent? And from a legal standpoint, that involves, to find them legally negligent and liable to him, there's a few questions, very simple questions to ask. Did JetBlue owe Mike Tyson a duty? A duty to make sure he had a safe ride, a duty to make sure he was not attacked during the flight, a duty to make other passengers sit in their seat or reassign them. When you're on a flight, it's not like if you don't like where you're sitting, you can automatically on your own go jump up and sit in another seat, especially if the flight is packed. It's not like when you come into the JetBlue plane, which they own, and you're thousands and thousands of feet in the sky, you can get up and leave the plane if you don't like it. You are stuck on that flight. So, therefore, the question becomes, if you have somebody in a confined space, they can't leave the space. They're stuck there to have to deal with whatever happens. Do you owe them any type of duty to protect them? And I think the answer is they most likely did owe him a duty, just like they owe any passenger a duty. Second of all, if they owed him a duty to protect him, to make sure he's safe, to make sure he's not annoyed and berated for that whole flight, did they breach that duty? Meaning, did they not live up to what they were supposed to do? Here, it seems very likely, and the video speaks for itself. With someone standing behind you, hollering, throwing water bottles at you, cursing at you, and no intervention on any video I've seen thus far, it seems quite obvious that they didn't keep their bargain and they didn't uphold their duty. So they breached that duty. Were they the cause? Yes, they caused it because they had the option to get involved, to stop what was happening, to take some type of action in some form or another, and they didn't take any action. And lastly, has Mike Tyson been damaged? Meaning, what type of money has he lost? How has he been impacted based on what occurred? I would submit he's been damaged because now his name is all over the media and he's trying to explain, meaning that he's paying spokespersons and other people to explain his course of action. He may have to take time away from other engagements that he had because he is a businessman. He has several successful businesses that he's operated for years, and now he has to take time away from that to explain this situation. Maybe he might have to answer questions from law enforcement officials to explain what actions he took and why he took them. That is taking time away. For example, if you have to go to work or you have a business meeting and you want to be there at 9 o'clock, and now you have to deviate and cancel the meeting or do something else because you have to answer questions or do something, that takes time. If he has to pay an attorney to defend him or to justify things or explain his point of the situation, that attorney is not working for free. His spokespeople are not working for free. These are people that have to be paid, and this is a damage brought on him by something that could have been prevented had JetBlue intervened. So I believe that not only is JetBlue liable for this situation to Mike Tyson, but obviously the guy that was berating and annoying him was liable. But what we've seen thus far on the media is the guy standing over Mike and then making jokes and jeering him, which he's expected to be able to take because, hey, he was the champ. So he's expected to be able to be interrupted, bothered, and maintain a stiff upper lip and just allow it and accept it and act like everything's okay. So he's expected to accept all of this behavior. And then when he's had enough, as the flight's going on, and he erupts to protect himself, because think about it, you have someone behind you. You never know what someone behind you might do at any given point, especially if the person is drunk and not in their right mind. They really are volatile and dangerous. So when he takes action to protect himself, to neutralize this, so maybe he can have some peace of mind over the flight, because it's my understanding that the flight was going across from coast to coast. So it's more than a couple hours of a flight. Now, all of a sudden, he's depicted in the news as a bad guy. Nevertheless, this story is still developing. We're going to continue to find out details. But if you have some thoughts on it, you have some comments, I invite you, put them in the comment section, because we don't know all the facts. We don't know all the information. But what we do know, and at least what I know at this point, is I haven't seen any response from JetBlue. I haven't seen any apology to Mike Tyson from JetBlue. I haven't seen any mention of law enforcement or air marshals on the plane. I haven't heard anything about JetBlue offering to compensate Mike Tyson for this. And there's a whole assortment of other questions that I haven't seen addressed. So I want to jump on it early. I want to address it, and I want to talk about what needs to occur. Thanks, Corey. I appreciate it. If you have any thoughts, feel free to drop them in the chat because we need to ask some questions and we need to look at the media from a different standpoint. We have to think critically. You know, as an attorney, as an engineer, I like to deal with facts. I like to deal with numbers. And yeah, the fact is, we're seeing these videos, we see what's going on, but no one is challenging and pushing back on the narrative that's being put out there. There's always multiple sides to the story. So, let's think about that. Let's talk about it. Again, shout out to Corey. I appreciate the support. And anyone watching, make sure you like and subscribe because on this channel, again, we're going to get to the real deal behind issues. And we're going to talk about how people may end up owing people money for bad behavior. The same way businesses are sued. I think JetBlue needs to be thinking about contacting their insurance broker, their legal department contacting their insurance broker and saying, hey, we might need to look into this because we might be liable. We might have some, responsibility for allowing this to occur. So let's everyone keep an eye on this. And if there's some challenging things, some weird stuff going on with it, I'll come back and make another video, talk about what we know, what we've learned, and how we might apply these principles to ourselves, to our own businesses, so that we can protect ourselves and not expose ourselves as business owners, as entrepreneurs, to unnecessary liability. Because you have a duty, once you're aware of something's going on, you are ultimately responsible to stop, intervene, and prevent things from continuing to go on. Thanks again for joining. Thanks for watching this video. Please continue to like and subscribe to the video. Please be on the lookout. Set your notification button so when I do go live, you definitely can join in. Corey, that's correct. Airlines have let these out. Corey says, let's share this comment. He says, these airlines have let these outraged on-flight things happen too often when it's a certain kind of person. Exactly. Airlines are letting things happen, and they always show a small segment in the news of what happened. Think about it. The average video that you see uploaded right now is only 1 minute, 2 minutes, maybe 3 or 4 minutes at most. The flight was for hours. So even if they do have a video segment, it doesn't depict what happened the entire time. It doesn't show everything else in the dialogue, and you can cut, edit, paste, Photoshop videos, and you have no idea of the remaining of the story, and then tell the story however you want. And that's why oftentimes you see news and media releases go back and retract or edit the stories or say there's an update at a certain time because they're getting more information. We haven't heard anything from Mike Tyson in terms of him speaking out on all the details of what happened because he's the person that was attacked. And I'm not saying he should come out and speak, but it's very interesting when other people try to tell your story for you and say exactly what happened, especially people that weren't there and didn't talk to a whole host of people that were there, especially people that were flying the plane. Why haven't they come out and said, hey, we made a mistake. Hey, we should have intervened and stopped this. So, I just ask everyone not to do any type of rush to judgment against Mike Tyson, but to get the facts and look very clearly and think about a multi-hour flight. Someone, imagine yourself sitting there, someone harassing you, bothering you, nonstop, cursing, jeering, looking at the thumbnail. I have the guy standing over him. Who would want to have someone stand over you at night after a long day and bother you? Nevertheless, again, like, subscribe, and hit that notification for the video. I definitely will be putting out some important up-to-date commentary on this and other stories to keep you informed, keep your business profitable. Thanks again for joining and watching the video. Have a great day.